Hello guys, let's talk about My Hero Academia chapter 178 because this week's chapter in my opinion was really good. A lot of people may think it's not really that big of a chapter because there isn't a lot to talk about. We mostly had the stuff with the culture festival surrounding the beauty pageant, and then we had the whole thing with La Brava, Gentle and Deku. Obviously this was mostly centered around La Brava, but we kinda knew that from last week because we saw La Brava kinda attempting to use her quirk. We didn't really know what it was, and we've been waiting a whole week to find out just what this quirk may actually be. So now today, or this week should we say, we can actually go into what her quirk is because it was confirmed what her quirk was, and we got some of her backstory as well, which I thought was really nice. I want to talk about that as well, but what I really want to go into is actually her backstory. That's the thing that I want to really focus on in this review because it kind of goes deeper than most people may think, especially if you're one of those people who think there wasn't a lot to talk about this week. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, not having anything to say about a certain topic or anything. I'm just saying there is actually stuff to talk about this week, and yeah, let's just go into her backstory like right away because there's so much going on. Looking at the beginning, we see how La Brava as a junior high student. She was in junior high apparently. I don't really know what age that is. I'm not too familiar with the school system that La Brava is supposed to be in because we don't have the same in my country. But I'm assuming that means she's a teenager, at least. Somehow she's a teenager. This was a long time ago, of course, meaning that she's probably an adult now. I mean, we did speculate she was an adult now, which we can probably assume is the case, especially what we got at the very end of the chapter with La Brava and Gentle. I feel like what she said, she wouldn't really have said if she weren't, an adult. However, in the flashback, we get something really interesting, which is that La Brava, she was building up this courage to confess her love to this other student at her school, and she got rejected and made fun of because of that, which was a very hard blow to her mental state, I would say. Because imagine if you're being rejected by someone and they're even making fun of you because of it. I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, and so some people may even be able to relate. But what people may not really think about is because of the fact that her quirk has to do with love, this might actually be even worse. It kind of affects her ability to properly use her quirk. She may be in a situation where she will just close herself in so much to the point where she may have a really hard time getting in contact with other people. But as we saw in the chapter, she was watching Gentle's videos, and as she explained it, Gentle was La Brava's light after the whole thing at the school. He was, I guess, a beacon of hope for her, or a beacon of positiveness in a way. So to La Brava, Gentle is actually, figuratively speaking at least, a hero. She is admiring Gentle, much like Deku and Bakugo are admiring All Might, even after his power is gone, To her, Gentle is just such a great inspiration and a great person, to the point where she would actually track him down, meet up with him, and strike a deal that she would help him out with his videos, She will be behind the technical stuff, whereas he is the one doing the performances. So they are a team now, and we knew that. I mean, obviously they've been a team now for years probably. I don't remember how many years exactly. It was stated, I believe, in a chapter, but I can't quite remember the number. It might have been like 6 years, 7 years or something. Wouldn't be surprised if it was 7 years, because the number 7 is quite a big deal in Japan. So, if it's 7, it kind of makes sense in that regard. But other than that, doesn't really matter. The point is, they've been together doing teamworks like this for a long time. And up until now, we haven't really seen La Brava confess her love to anyone, obviously, because we didn't really know what her backstory was until this point. We didn't really know how big of a deal this whole confession would be if we hadn't seen the backstory first. The backstory is a very big part of why she confessed her love to Gentle, because as it's stated at the beginning of the chapter in the backstory stuff, she had to build up courage to confess to this other student, right? And that probably took a lot of courage. Like, she had to work that up slowly and steadily until she was actually ready to confront him about it, tell him she loves him, kind of like you do, and then be rejected. And then, she comes up to Gentle and she happens to fall in love with Gentle as well. She's gonna go through that same experience. However, in this case, he's not as much of a dickhead, but at the same time, you're still gonna have the mental barrier within your head that, what if the same thing happens over and over again? The same thing that happened in the school, what if Gentle treats me the same way? And I think that's why she may not have confessed to Gentle up until this point. And now that they're about, or at least they think they're about to, at the time, go to jail because Deku kind of have them locked down. She decides to confess to Gentle. That's kind of her mindset at the time, as far as I'm reading this. I could be reading this somewhat wrong, but I really don't think so. I feel like it was all built up to the point where she would have to confess to Gentle, you know, do a second confession to a different person, a more caring person, someone who actually cares about La Brava at the end of the day, whereas this other student really didn't. Plus the fact that, you know, it was her teenage years. Some people are gonna reject you, some people are not. That's just how things go. And she just took it really hard, and eventually, you know, she found Gentle. As I said, I'm kind of repeating myself now. So I'm going to go to the next topic. The next topic that I want to talk about is her quirk, and her quirk is actually really interesting. A lot of people may think of this as a really bad quirk because, well, it's kind of predictable in a way. I know my friend Orpheus, he kind of predicted that love in some shape or form would be her quirk. I don't remember if Orpheus predicted exactly how the quirk was going to operate, but I really like the operation of the quirk, even though I don't really care so much about the whole love aspect. I mean, it goes really well with the character and stuff, but if we're just looking at the quirk, you know, it could be any emotion. But I feel like having a quirk that's linked to an emotion is really good because that gives it certain limitations and certain drawbacks that other quirks really don't have. Looking at limitations for starters, okay, or drawbacks, I don't really know which this would go under, but it's not just about confessing to someone. You also have to remember that the emotion has to be genuine. She has to actually mean what she's saying, and at that point when she confesses or transfers her love, you know, whatever she has to do in order to transfer that energy. I don't really know if it was stated whether she has to confess it in order for that love to be put into Gentle and that he would be getting this power up as we saw. But we do know that Gentle did get a power up from that love, and I feel like it is definitely something that we're gonna be seeing a lot more next chapter. We're gonna see the effects of this quirk. We're gonna get more insight on this quirk probably, because right now we didn't really get much insight on it. We only really found out, you know, what it is, what does it do. We don't really know how it operates in great detail, honestly, we don't. We can speculate, but I think it's gonna work in a way that, you know, depending on how much you love someone and how much she decides to pour into that confession, she may simply be giving him an equivalent amount of energy to the amount of energy she puts into this confession. That's something that I could really see be the case, which definitely limits the quirk, as I said, and puts a kind of hefty drawback on it as well, because if you don't love a certain person, you can't really use this quirk on that person, right? I mean, this person has to be someone that you actually love in La Brava's case, and Gentle is the only person right now that La Brava could ever use this quirk on. If Gentle wasn't around or something like that, La Brava's quirk simply wouldn't work. And what's kind of worse is that her quirk doesn't really work on her own, right? She needs someone else in order to use her quirk, because she can't transfer this love energy into herself probably. I just don't see that being possible. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like this quirk is definitely going to be something that needs a second person. You know, her quirk is definitely more of a support role quirk rather than anything else. She absolutely needs a different person, a different entity to put this energy within and power that person up in some way. It's really a shame that she's a villain in my opinion, because, or well, a criminal should we say, but let's call her a villain, like broadly speaking, because such a quirk would be really useful, you know, for the UA Academy. They could really use that to its full potential and really, you know, help out some people, you know. And I feel like we're gonna see more of La Brava and Gentle in the future, because no matter how this arc ends, we're simply not going to be seeing Gentle, La Brava being captured. I just don't see it. I think they're gonna get away or be let go, you know, something like that. I just don't feel like they're gonna be put into prison. I absolutely can't see that happening, but I could be wrong. I mean, this could be the end of La Brava and Gentle as we know it in this arc, but I really hope not, because they have so much potential. Their quirks are really creative in my opinion, especially Gentle's quirk, in the way that he can actually both help other people and he can also help himself. You know, he can fight with it, he can mobilize with it, he can do pretty much anything. Okay, so I'm briefly going to be talking about the beauty pageant, because we had Monoma, we had Kendo, Nejire, and this new girl whose name is Kendransaki Bibimi, or however you pronounce it, I don't know, but... And well, we didn't really see her in person before. We only saw like a really quick image of her, but now we actually saw her in person. In the manga we saw Nejire and her come face to face, and as well as Monoma. And let me just tell you something about this girl, okay? that girl has some fucking crazy eyelashes, okay? Like, those eyelashes are just insane. Like, that's not even humanly possible. If those lashes aren't her quirk, I mean, I'll be really concerned. How would an eyelash quirk even work? I just don't understand how that quirk would really operate, honestly. Like, would it work like whips? you know what I'm saying? Like, what would those lashes be able to do? Like, is it a fighting quirk? Is it something else? Can you rap with them? I just don't know. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about the beauty pageant, because we didn't really have much. I mean, obviously Monoma was just being an absolute asshole like he always is. I mean, in his own way, you know. He didn't insult anyone, I think, but he did act like he usually does, you know. He has this really obnoxious attitude going around. I love Monoma as a character, and his obnoxious attitude is one of those reasons. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about is Deku and Gentle fighting, because we saw some really interesting action going on when Gentle was evading Deku, because obviously Deku is actually stronger than Gentle. We kind of saw this very clearly in the last few chapters. Like, Gentle was having a hard time dealing with Deku when he didn't cuck him, you know. When he didn't like trick Deku into doing something that he didn't plan for. But one thing that really caught my interest was when Gentle was using this elasticity in order to evade, and Deku actually used Gentle's quirk against him. He actually used his own Air Force, you know, this new form that he has with Delaware Smash, and he pretty much ricocheted his Air Force onto those elasticity areas and knocked Gentle down. Now this is something that I really didn't expect to see. I didn't expect to see Deku use such precision, but turns out he has pretty precise aim. I mean, that and the Air Force is probably pretty wide, so I don't think it would be too hard for Deku to hit Gentle. You know, it's hard to tell really, but that's kind of how I see it. Maybe you see it differently than I do, I just don't know. Anyway guys, that's really all I have to say about this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Gonna do my reaction tomorrow, gonna do the episode review tomorrow, so look forward to that. Anyway, as always, if you haven't already, please be sure to leave a comment down below. Detroit, smash that like button if you haven't already done so, and last but not least, be sure to subscribe if you have not done so already, if you want to see more My Hero Academia content coming your way. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everyone, Toga is waifu, Toga is lifu.